We're in Belize. We just crossed the border literally 5 minutes ago. It was all very easy. And we've just got the bus to drop us here in Caye, which is the town just the other side of the border. Go to the cash point and then get a cab up to our hotel. This is where we're staying. It's a little way out of the town. Actually, it's quite close to a river and the ruins that we want to go and see, Mayan ruins. This is an amazing place for birds. The toucans seem to particularly like this fruit tree. Cheers, first beers in Belize.
Cheers.
We're heading off to the Mayan ruins at Zunantinich this morning. They're not far from here, so we can walk. So it's actually just across this river, but we've got to walk down to the road to get the ferry across the river. I'm very happy about that because, as you can see, it's a gorgeous walk. We've arrived quite early this morning, so there's very few people here. Most of the structures that you can see here were built between 600 and 800 AD. This is the El Castillo Pyramid, the largest one here. We're just halfway up at this point. This building was a temple to the god Caulker, which was a feathered serpent. We're less than a mile from the Guatemalan border here, so actually not all that far from some of the Mayan ruins that we visited in Guatemala. That was very cool, not very large, but interesting nonetheless. Just heading back now. Watching this iguana scurry up that tree. Time for some lunch. Sat under this gorgeous tree here. Well, we all enjoyed that lunch, all three of us, and in the process, I think we've made a firm new friend. This is Elise, her fellow guest at the guest house. Off for a bit of a walk. We never did find out the name of the dog, but she's coming with us too.
Okay.
No, it's nothing less than I'm like an American.
Yeah, we're coming into summertime.
We're heading off to the Mountain Pine Ridge Forest Reserve today. Elise has a hire car, which is really handy. But from coming here just to see the reserve itself, thought we'd have a little look at the river, and there's this area where you can swim. You can see why they call it Mountain Pine Ridge Reserve. It's a very different habitat from where we were, just an hour's drive away. Wow, this is really beautiful. That's me in the water there. It's really a bit too shallow to swim, but it's nice for a quick dunk. Oh dear, this wasn't really what we had in mind. It rained an awful lot this morning. We thought it might be a bit better this afternoon. And thankfully the rain only lasted 5 minutes and it's really sunny and hot again. We can have our picnic after all. We're heading back again now. We did try to go for a walk in the pine forest, but the track kind of petered out quite quickly. That's okay, it's been a really nice day again. Well, I'm heading out to the islands today, so we're just waiting for the bus. We'll go to Belize City and then take the boat from there. It's a pretty big bus, but it's absolutely rammed. And it's about a 4-hour journey. I guess some of these people might get off before Belize City. So it wasn't far to walk from the bus station to the ferry terminal. We've got about an hour to wait for our boat. So Ben's worked out what he can do to fill the time. We're off to Caulker, and the ferry ride's under an hour actually. And that's Caulker up ahead, just coming in sight now. It looks tiny, doesn't it? And it is pretty small. It's less than a mile wide, about 5 miles long. Caulker's home to only about 4,000 people. So it really is pretty tiny. This is it. Sandy streets and, well, I think we're pretty much in the centre of the, what they call Caulker village. Our apartment's about 20 minutes walk to the south of the centre. This part is really pretty. Mangroves stretching right along the shorefront, and it's just gorgeous looking at the ocean. And this is it, our apartment for the next few days. It's a nice deck area with a hammock out front. I very much enjoy this. After you. They've got bikes that we can use here, which is great, so we're going to have a little explore of the island today. These bikes don't have brakes though, so we're going to have to go quite carefully. All the roads and tracks on the island are sand. There's no cars at all. There are little buggies or bikes. Ben's got a really squeaky bike. Just going through the centre of the town now. Ferry pier is just 1 or 2 roads over on our right. The island's split into 2 parts. We're going to head up to the northern part, which is less developed than the southern area. Apparently 30 years ago or so, when this was just a sleepy fishing village, they decided to dig a channel through the middle of the island so fishing boats could more easily get out to sea. And since then, every year that passes, every big storm they have just makes this channel bigger and bigger. So now you need to get a ferry from one side of the island to the other. The whole north of the island is a protected reserve full of mangroves. So we're really interested to explore and see what we can see. I don't think many locals live in this area. I think there's a few kind of expats living in some of these places. We've been passing quite a few big developments like this. Mostly all still under construction. and areas like this where they've chopped down the mangroves, presumably ahead of applying for planning permission. It's not that little depressing, really. Anyway, we're just going to park up and go for a swim. Today is literally a washout. It's just been raining hard all night and all morning. Oh, you can't help the weather. The weather's cleared up completely today. We're off to do a bit of snorkelling. These are all nurse sharks, and they're normally nocturnal creatures. They mainly eat shellfish and octopus. Now, fishing isn't allowed anymore, but there's lots of tourist boats and some of them do feed the fish. So that's the reason there's so many of them here. The water is so clear, it's absolutely amazing seeing all these sharks and rays. But it is a bit depressing knowing that they're only there because people feed them. It really is amazing being able to get this close, though. We're heading to our second stop today, which is the Holchan Marine Reserve. This is like swimming in an aquarium. It's amazing. This reserve was created in 1987 in response to it being overfished. The agreement was that half of all the fishermen could become tour guides, thereby preventing unemployment. This nurse shark might be looking for food. Apparently they've got really good suction abilities. They just suck the prey into their mouths. The water is breaking there over the Belize barrier reef, which stretches all the way down the coast of Belize. It's the second largest barrier reef in the world after the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. So the water's really shallow here. So corals on the landward side. The other side of the reef, it drops down sharply. You can't swim on that side because you just get swept up onto the reef by the waves. We're heading back towards Caulker now for one final stop.
If you want to play with them, you can stick your hands over about 5 to 6 inches over the boat like this. Oh my god.
We've just got 2 more passengers on board. They don't seem at all shy. Well, that's it, the end of our trip. It's been absolutely amazing today. Such fantastic snorkeling. We're off to San Pedro this morning. That's on an island called Caye, which is the other island you can visit here in Belize. It's only about an hour or so. This island's much bigger and more developed than Caulker. It's actually quite a major destination for US holidaymakers. This is our Airbnb. We just have to wait for her to finish cleaning it. There's this restaurant next door. We can actually see it. It's that blue house there. This is the inside. It's self-catering, which is great because food here is so expensive. We've hired one of these golf carts today. We'll drive across to the other side of the island. We're heading to a place called Secret Beach, but it's far from secret. It's 20 miles, which will take us just under an hour, I think. As with Caulker, there's lots of mangrove forests here and wetland. We're keeping our eyes peeled for crocs. Apparently there are a few here. Unfortunately, we're also seeing quite a lot of development, even in these inland areas quite away from the main town. It should be called anything but Secret Beach. It's alright, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're off on another snorkelling trip this morning. This time we're heading to a place called Mexico Rocks, which is just a bit further north along the coast of the island. This is also a protected area. And once again, it looks just like an aquarium. The water is so clear. Ben's photobombed me. I should say I'm trying to identify all of these species, but I'm no expert by any means. So apologies if I've got any of it wrong. This is an invasive species, first seen here in 2008. One of the tour guides has just given this stingray a fish. You can just see the tail poking out at the front of his mouth sometimes. All these little fish are going crazy for it. And whilst I'm not that comfortable with them feeding them fish, it is quite cool to see. They would normally mainly eat crustaceans, but they do eat small fish as well and squid. Well, that's what's left, pretty much just the bones and the tail. And all the little fish are still going crazy, just in case there's a little few tidbits left. This stingray is actually carrying a fish in its mouth. I've slowed the footage down because it was moving at quite a speed. They are beautiful creatures. I love watching them swim. They're not at all shy of people. I mean, I guess it's because they get fed. That's it, we're heading back now. It's been really fun again this morning. It's our last night on the island tonight, and we thought we'd head up the beach and look for a bar somewhere. Soak up the last of the beachside atmosphere before we head off in the morning.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Got a have really enjoyed the snorkelling here, but it's a bit touristy for our tastes. Looking forward to seeing a bit more of the country tomorrow. We got the ferry back to Belize City this morning. We're just walking through town to the bus station now. Heading south to a place called Hopkins. This is one of the major roads in Belize. It's called Hummingbird Highway. It's quite pretty. It's about 4 hours to Hopkins. We thought we'd stop there because there's a big national park nearby that we fancied visiting. This is our hotel for the next couple of days. We're right on the coast here. And again, it's quite a touristy place.
Well, this is a surprise.
Yeah.
We thought we were getting picked up in a taxi this morning, and instead they've just left us the car to use for the day.
Taxis are so expensive here, so we were trying to get a better price, but we didn't expect this. We're off to the Mayflower Bokawina National Park today. It's about a half-hour drive. We're here, we just parked up. We've chosen this walk that's a big loop to do. It's about 7 miles or so. This looks a little bit too big for him. The track's easy enough to follow. It's pretty dense forest around here. This is an old steam engine used by the British during colonial times. The engine would have powered a pulley that would have been used to extract the timber because they forested the wood in this area. We have been told it was nice to swim in the river, but it's so shallow. Maybe it would come up to our knees in the deepest places, but not really worth trying to swim, don't think. Been a very pleasant temperature this morning through the forest, but as we're coming into more open areas here, it's warming up a bit. It's probably high 20s now. That's the car park up ahead. Well, it's been a very nice walk this morning. We haven't seen lots of animals, but we've heard plenty of birds. We're heading down to a place called Punta Gorda today, which is our last stop in Belize. It's near the border with Guatemala, right in the far south of the country. Looks like these people are all gathered around this water butt. A bit anxious as to whether their neighbours are going to make it onto the bus or not. These women are wearing traditional Mayan dress. Apparently around 11% of the population of Belize are Mayan ethnically. And Spanish is also widely spoken here. These houses also look typically Mayan, very similar to the ones we were seeing in villages in Guatemala. This is Punta Gorda. We just got off the bus and we're walking up to our Airbnb. It's only a very small town right on the coast. And this is it, a purpose-built block of 3 rooms. Just staying a couple of nights. It's Sunday today and the town's pretty quiet. But it's nice seeing these kids playing in the water. We're walking down Front Street, which is one of the 3 main streets in the town. Just hardly anyone around today. We thought we'd stop here for a spot of lunch. It's a gorgeous view. Must be a big shoal of fish out here. We're just watching the birds dive bombing into the water. Just the perfect spot for lunch.
So you've ordered conch for the first time.
Yes. Conch curry.
Oh, and I've got vegetarian. And it's a nice way to kind of end our time in Belize, right? Just sitting in this cafe with a gorgeous view. And tomorrow we're off, so this is bye-bye from Belize.